Hi. Something I've found really useful is using a simulator like Assetto Corsa. I started off actually with R Factor 2, but using Assetto Corsa to practice driving around tracks. And one of the things that I found slightly frustrating is I couldn't find a model that was terrifically close to the BMW 116. Although I think the closest I found was the model called Mazda Miata NA, which is an MX-5, basically North American MX-5. So that works well, but it's slightly more powerful than the 116, and also the gear ratios are quite different. And then there's also the issue of tyres, in that there are no semi-slicks available on the Mazda Miata model. So what I did was I hacked the model, the MX-5 model, and I've made a number of adjustments to it to bring it closer to a 116 trophy car. So I'll show you what I've done, but I think one of the things I'd like to do is start off by showing you how to install the model. So actually I need to drop out of here, out of Assetto Corsa, and what we're going to do is we're going to go into a browser session. Now, don't be put off by the fact that I'm using in private browsing here. It's simply because I'm going to go to one of my code repositories, and if I just browse to it using a normal, the normal Microsoft Edge browser, it'll immediately log me in, which won't present the same information on the screen as I'm expecting you to get. So I didn't want to go that way. So what we need to do is we need to go to github.com/Paul Offord. Okay, and this is what you should see. So I've got a couple of other projects that I've been working on which are to do with amateur radio. You can ignore those, but you can see this one here says KS Mazda Miata or Miata E87. This is the one that we want. So if you click on that, you'll then see all of the code for the actual model, and you just click here and choose download zip. If you are familiar with Git, you can by all means use Git to load this into your into Assetto Corsa. But I guess if you know how to use Git, you don't need me to tell you how to do that. So we'll skip that bit and we'll just go with the zip file, assuming people aren't going to use the Git feature. Okay, so we download the code, and unfortunately it looks as though I've got a copy of it already, but not to worry. So it's downloading the code now. I think it's about, looked as though it was about 55 megabytes. It's not a massive piece of code. Okay, then you're going to want to go into a browser, into Windows Explorer, and obviously you're going to want to find it in your downloads. So there's the one I just downloaded. This is the one that I already had. Doesn't really matter either way. Double click on that. It's a RAR file, and I need to get on and register my copy of RAR, but no, it's not. Sorry, it's a zip file. It's a zip file, but for some reason it defaults and opens up in RAR for me, WinRAR. Don't worry about that. It'll just open up as a zip file for you. So this is the actual model that we need, and what we need to do is install it into Assetto Corsa. If you use Assetto Corsa Content Manager, you should just be able to drag this onto Content Manager and it installs. I have to say, I am having no luck doing that, so I'm going to show you the longer-winded way. So the first thing we need to do is we need to find where Assetto Corsa is installed. So you can go to your C drive, it will be in Program Files 86. You need to come down here to where it says Steam, click on that, go into Steam apps and common, Assetto Corsa. I'm going through this quickly because I'm going to show you where I've documented all of this, but you can see basically what I'm doing, and then go into content and cars. Okay, so this is where we've got to install it. So if I grab this file and or this folder and just drag and drop it, try not to drag and drop it with these highlighted, because if you do, you'll install it into one of those existing folders. So come over to out of the range of that lot and just install like that. Now the next thing you have to do is, because this has come out of a repository, it puts this -main suffix on the end. I won't go into why it does that, but just don't worry about it. All you need to do is delete -main so that it just has KS Mazda Miata. There's a double underscore there actually, and then E87. Okay, it's now actually installed. So if we start up Assetto Corsa, and go into the main menu, drive, and what we need to do is we've got to select the car. So if you just click on this car icon here, and although it's a BMW 116 model, it is in the Mazda group for the moment. I'll try and correct this later, but this is where we have to go for the moment. So go into the Mazda group, and then here's the Mazda Miata North America NA. And if you notice, we've got an additional thing here. I want you to click on that and then go up to here and click again and choose the one with the C underneath. So there's a standard model for the Mazda Miata, and there's a modified model, which is this second one. We choose that, and now you see it says BMW 116 Trophy. It's got details about, you know, what I've tried to do, power curve, etc. Which I've taken this from a dyno run on my own car, so the power and the torque have been set correctly. All of the gear ratios have been set correctly. The final drive ratio and the rolling diameter of the cars, of the tyres, have all been set to be closer to, well, they're identical to a 116. I'll talk a bit more about that later. You'll notice that it says weight is 1030, which is the standard weight, and but actually I've had to fiddle with this weight a bit. Sorry, that's not the standard weight, that's 100 kilos lower than the regulation weight for a 116 trophy car. And the reason I had to do that was because I found the car was sluggish, a bit sluggish when it was set to the standard rate, and actually by mistake I set the value lower, and I found it was much closer to the performance of what I experience in my 116 trophy car. Okay, so we do that, come back out of there, and then go into summary and click on the realism tile here, and these are the settings you want. Particularly you want to switch off traction control, switch off stability control, and set ABS to factory. Now I don't know what you do when you race in the trophy car, but I always switch the traction control off completely unless it's wet. If it's wet, I actually run with the first level. I can't even, is it called DTS? Yeah, something like that. So you could switch this back on if you want to practice driving in the wet with traction control set. I do actually set these in the configuration files in the model, but I have a feeling that this interface overrides those values, so you want to make sure that these are set correctly. Okay, and Sunday I'm racing at Snetterton on Snetterton 300, so that's what I've chosen as the track. So let's start that. So you can see it still looks like an MX-5, but it's got rather strange wheel arches. And the reason for this is because the wheelbase has been changed to match a 116 trophy car. I've tried to get as many things in there as I can that match the 116 trophy car. The only thing I have to say is that at the moment it's still set with double wishbone front suspension, and I can change it to struts, but I have to do a load of work on the geometry settings, so I haven't got around to that yet, so you'll have to excuse that. But I've tended to set the parameters up more based on my own experience of driving a real 116 trophy car. I've not gone overboard on trying to exactly match everything about you know, all of the different configuration settings of the car. I have set it up with some tow and whatnot. So if you go into here, couple of things to show you. The gears are set correctly, so they should match the gearing of the 116 trophy car. Tyres, Nankang. Now these are actually I've actually ripped off some semi-slick tyres from another model, from a Lotus Exige I think it was. I've changed all the widths and rolling diameters and everything, but in terms of tyre compounds it's the same as what that was on this Lotus. I have no idea if it's right, quite honestly, but you know, as I've put in the notes, I wouldn't even know where to start to change the characteristics of the compound, so I haven't attempted that. These pressures, I know they're not the pressures. I doubt you guys run these pressures. I certainly don't, but it seems to work for the model, so I haven't changed those. Alignment, obviously we tend to run a lot more front camber, negative camber than this, but again I've set this to match what I experience in the car, and it's just through trial and error. I kept trying different settings and seeing how it felt. Similarly with the tow settings. So these tow settings are a bit weird. It says 15, but it actually, if you look over here in this status, this is TOE, tow out. Yeah, I don't know why. I don't understand some of this stuff. But anyway, as I said, the characteristics seem to be about right. It's got higher rear height than front height. I've got no idea if it matches the rake of my car, because the way it references it, it does it in quite a strange way based on centre of gravity, so I need to dig into all of that if I'm going to get this any closer. Okay, I think that's enough. So now if we click on, you know, drive, some of the things I've changed here. The gauges, you couldn't see the speedo on the, if you ever use the Mazda Miata model, you'll notice that this is so dark you can't see it, and I've tweaked a few settings to make this visible. Let me move up. I'm going to have to move seat, and I'll show you this driving just to give you an idea. So I've got the screen tilted round, and it's really throwing me off. Hang on, let me straighten the screen out so I can see where I'm going. That's better. Now you'll notice a big drop from second to third that you get in the trophy car. You will feel that, so the gear ratio seems to be about right. I have to say, around Snetterton it's pretty close, but there are some areas where I feel it's not quite right. In particular, I take some of the corners in third gear, like oggies, and this tends to bog down a bit in oggies, so it's not quite right yet. Similarly with Nelson, I take Nelson in third gear in the real car, and in this I can't seem to do it, so I seem to have to use second. scream round those corners. Anyway, you get the idea as I make a complete fool of myself. But yeah, okay, so let me just move back, move the seat. So the other thing you'll notice is it's left-hand drive, which is a bit of a shame. I'd like to switch it, but it's not easy. I have found a BMW E87 model that someone else has produced, but it's got some problems, and I've got to debug the model first before I can even try modifying it. I might take a look at that and see how easy it is to modify that model, because that would be quite nice, because the image, you know, it looks like an E87, so that would be good. Before I close out this video, I'll just show you where to find more information about installation and some of the background information. So you remember in the repository we came into this issues area. So if we go back to the main page for the repository and then just scroll down, you'll see readme.md, and this file is also available in the download package that you pull down onto your PC, but you can view it here, and so it's got step-by-step instructions on how to install and run Assetto Corsa with this model, and then we've got some background information. That's something I didn't talk about. I think the MX-5 has got a limited slip diff, and so I've disabled that on the trophy model. Traction control we've talked about, and tyres, so all of that's the same. I've also listed things that I consider as being opportunities for improvement, so that's stuff that I can work on, or if someone else is fancies having a go, I'd love someone else to get involved. That would be really good. Okay, I don't think there's much more to tell you. Let's go back to if you try the model and you've got any feedback, either directly message me on Facebook. You can actually also, you should be able to raise issues in here in GitHub if you have a GitHub login, but otherwise just message me. Okay, well, hope you have fun with that. I've found it really useful, I have to say, and particularly out of all the things, it's the gear ratios that are really handy, because I'm finding that I'm changing, aside from this third gear business and it bogging down a bit, I'm finding that I'm changing gear at exactly the same points on the track as I am when I use the sim, which is really useful. So yeah, I hope you find it useful, and let me know what you think and give me some feedback. Thanks a lot.